Oh man, let's talk hoops today. Let's talk hoops today. It is Monday. It is 9:14 Eastern Standard Time. And let me tell you, I'm like re-recording today, right? I'm re-recording today because I didn't really like the episode that I did on Saturday because I forced it, right? I forced it. I told myself that I was going to record on Saturday. And so I like prepped, but then I lost my inspiration, but I said, no, I got to record today. So I continued to halfway prep, and I did a terrible show. I didn't even go back and listen to it. I could just feel through the entire show that it was terrible. And if I put out something terrible, especially on a live show, the beauty of the internet and not being like on live national TV, I can just like delete it, you know? So what did I do? I deleted it. I deleted it off Facebook. I deleted it off YouTube. And then yesterday, I was going to record again. And then I came home from church. I took a nap and I woke up and I was like, I don't feel like recording. So you know what? Don't force it. Just wait till tomorrow. So then today, the wild thing was, I got super inspired Saturday night while I was watching a game. I'm in my group text talking back and forth with some of the ghostwriters. Shout out to Wayne. And I'm getting all this inspiration. I'm like, yes, this is going to kill him on Sunday. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't really want to do this. It's today's not the day. So then I'm at work today and I'm like, yeah, we're going to record when I get off today. Abso-freaking-lutely. Because the juices are spinning, but also the stuff that I like to listen to sometimes respond to. I go, they're giving me what it is that I need to talk about today, right? So don't force it. I mean, just think about your life. Think about the decisions that you've made. Think about your successes. Think about your failures. Think about your good times and your bad times. Did it come naturally or did you force it? I mean, and don't force it can apply in so many different situations. Not to get too dark here, but no means no, right, bro? Don't force it. Don't force it. But in that application, it's so easy to say don't force it. But in other things, it is like when you're going out, right? How many times have you gone out and you didn't really feel like going out, but you're like, it's Friday, I got to go out. Or it's Saturday, I got to go out. Or it's a holiday, I got to go out. And then you force it. And then you spent money and you've had absolutely no fun because you forced to move. You know? It's the same thing with podcasting. It's the same thing with work. And it's the same thing with takes. Don't force it. And I found myself forcing to take this finals or this playoffs. And now I'm beating myself up for it because my process was right. But my process did not yield the results that I wanted. So I fell in love with results that I wanted and not my actual process. Because after the Suns put the Lakers out of the playoff, my process said Milwaukee. I liked Milwaukee versus Brooklyn. And I knew if Milwaukee got out of the Brooklyn series, I liked them to win the championship. But here's what I did. I fell in love with what KD did in the first two games. Then I fell in love with Trey did game one. And I still think that series could have possibly been different had Trey not gotten hurt, but that's a story for another day, right? And then I liked what Phoenix did games one and game two. But I forced it because years and years and years, my philosophy has been you cannot rely on a jump shooting team to win a championship. That's why I was wrong about Golden State, because I'm like, yo, jump shooters can't win championships. Granted, as a jump shooting team, they only won one championship. Then they got KD, who was a isolation scorer, 3-level scorer, offensive threat, a bucket, wherever you want it. And that changed their ceiling, right? It made them the obvious champions. And then you see the experience that Kevin Durant had in OKC. You see the experience that the Warriors already had. I mean, they were champions before Kevin Durant got there. Then they lost in Game 7 of the Finals, right? And you look at how things go in the NBA. Milwaukee was primed to win the championship this year based on their experiences. And if I go back into my archives and I look at some of the things that I've said, and I looked at my beliefs, what I live and die by when it comes to this basketball stuff, I would have said, yo, my Milwaukee, this is their year to win it. And don't quote me, but I probably could go back to a pod that I did early in the basketball season and go, it would make sense for Milwaukee to win this year. Just think about it. Disappointing playoff loss last year, but then they upgrade and they make a move for Drew Holiday. But not only do they make the move for Drew Holiday, they make the in-season move for PJ Tucker, an old school, hard-nosed vet to bring an extra grit to the team, right? But then they have Giannis, who the two-time MVP, one-time Defensive Player of the Year, arguably the best player in the NBA, who got disappointed and who has come back. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of Giannis's game, but it has improved. That little 8-foot turnaround fadeaway that he's making, that's new. That's something, and that matters. But with the heartbreak that they went through to Miami, the heartbreak that they went through to Toronto in 2019, the fact that they got beat. Who beat them last year? 2020. Oh yeah, Miami beat them in 2020. They got beat in 2019 by your eventual champions, and then I think the Celtics got them the year before. But whatever. All of these heartbreaks and Giannis being said, "Oh, you're not what we thought you were. You were the MVP of the regular season, but you're not a postseason player." And then if you look at where he's at in his career, he's at age 24, year like. How long has Giannis been in the league? I think he's at year 8 or 9. Let me see. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah, I'm not gonna say his name. Giannis has been in the league since he got drafted in 2013. So you do the math. It's like, oh, it's almost winning time for you, Giannis. Now, maybe we don't like looking at Giannis in the way that he wins, but everything that we should assume, it says that Giannis is going to win. And that's why I say don't force it. Because when you look at the teams, you look at the chemistry, you look at the what they've gone through based on history, taking their lumps. History tells you that this is the year of the Bucks. This is the year of the deer. Fear the deer, and that the Bucks should win the championship. And now I sound like I'm 2020 hindsight saying this, but all I'm saying is my logic led me to the Bucks, but my heart changed that decision. And oftentimes I think that our heart will get in the way of logic. And don't get me wrong, I think that logic is important because when you talk about analytics is based on the numbers. It's not based on feelings, right? But at a certain point, you let your heart get involved and it takes away from the data that should drive your decisions. Because don't get me wrong, there are intangibles in basketball. Those intangibles matter. The fact that the Bucks are a bigger team, they're a more experienced team, they're an older team. They've been put out the playoffs, whereas the Suns, this is their first time making the playoffs with this regime. I think those lessons that the Bucks have gone through matter. I think they do. I think it allows them to know that, oh, we're not too high, we're not too low, we're not too up, we're not too down, whatever the case may be, right? And that's a thing that actually matters. So then we get to Giannis and the Bucks, right? And one of the interesting things about Giannis and the Bucks is I think a lot of people are turned off by Giannis and the Bucks. A lot of basketball purists, because Giannis does not play basketball in a way that looks good. You know, he's someone who handles the ball but doesn't dribble well, doesn't shoot well. It's like you should be playing on the block, but you haven't really showed me post moves. But you run the floor well. You have certain things you can get to where you can get a bucket. You can score a lot of points. But if I say, hey, I need a bucket right now, I don't know if you can get it. And I think that's a lot of people's hesitance with Giannis. But then you look at his personality, and it's totally different. than the personality of a great NBA player, especially a great black NBA player, right? Because as basketball people, especially basketball players, we don't embrace Giannis because we don't get him. We go, bro, you're that good and you're that humble. It's like, oh, well, coach said I should do this. And you like say, okay, yeah, okay, whatever, coach. But that didn't work, coach. And he doesn't necessarily call out his coaches. Maybe he does in private, but he doesn't do it in public. He's like, hey, I'm committed to this team. I'm committed to what we're building here. And I'm not looking for a big market. I'm not looking for to grow my brand. I just care about basketball. And that's new for us because we don't necessarily understand that, because even with our biggest stars who care about basketball, like I'll never question how much LeBron cares about basketball. I'll never question how much Kevin Durant cares about basketball. I'll never question how much Kobe Bryant cared about basketball. I'll never question how much Michael Jordan cared about basketball. But guess what? All of those people had huge personas off the court. And their skills, their abilities, their accomplishments on the basketball court just further amplified those huge personas. But Giannis, I mean, he has the shoes. He's on shoe number 3. And he does not have the same off-court appeal as these guys do. But he's starting to have the same on-court effect as they do, but it's hard for us to embrace it because he's not your typical American superstar. He's not. And I think we should like Giannis more because he's producing. He has it all. He has his brother on the team, so it's like, hey, he getting the perks of being a superstar. He's producing. He's winning games. He's winning individual awards. But he's still always deflecting. He's always bigging up his teammates. And it's never, ever about Giannis. And it's like, how can we be successful and not make it about us? Just think about it. He and PJ Tucker are making fun of Giannis in the gym, airballing free throws, but Giannis is still going to the basket and he's still taking free throws. When people talk about Chris Middleton being the closer, he's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. As long as we win the game, it doesn't matter. And remember at the beginning of the playoffs, a lot of people are upset with Giannis. When they asked him, like, do you think this year's going to be different? Bro, I don't know. I'm not playing. Like, I can't tell you until it happens. Like, I can't predict the future. Only thing I can do is control what I can control. And our American mindset, right? Especially the American media mindset for this one, the average person goes, oh my God, he doesn't have confidence. It's just like, no. He understands he can't control everything. And like I told y'all last week, that the supporting cast makes the movie, not the main character. So what happens? Giannis says he doesn't know, but Jesus Christ, he steps his game up to a level that we haven't seen. Some of his teammates step their levels up to their games up to a level that was needed, and now they're one game away from winning a championship. But we can't relate to that because we expect the American superstar to have bravado, to say it's going to be different this year. We're going to go in and we're going to change things. We're not going to look like last year. But if we're being rational, we know the entire time that they don't necessarily believe what they're saying. They don't know what they're saying to be true. They're just exuding a level of confidence that is necessary to be that successful at that high level, but also to appease us. But here's the thing. Giannis isn't here to appease us, right? He's here to win the game. So have you ever worked on a project, right, with somebody? And you don't care about who gets credit for the project. You care about the project getting done. And I think this applies so much to work in the community. So often we have people doing community work and they care about getting credit for their community work. But the idea should be, is the work getting done in the community? It should not matter who gets the credit for it. It should not matter who does it, but is the work getting done? Okay, so we're helping the kids who need the help. We're helping the people who need the help. Got it. That's the same thing Giannis is doing. Giannis is is the silent philanthropist that you need. He's making all the moves that are supposed to be made in order to get the project to work, but he's not concerned about who gets the credit for it. He's not concerned about being the person who makes the game-winning shot. He just cares about the shot going in. And I don't think we can say that about a lot of our superstars, which is why I think that we should like Giannis more than we do, including me. Because Giannis is concerned about winning. He's concerned about the end product. And if his individual stats are what we need to get to a win, then yes, we're going to put up stats. But if it's me getting Chris Middleton going, me getting Drew Holiday going, me letting Brooks shoot some threes, me letting Bobby Portis do his thing with his eyes, and that's going to get us a championship, I feel like that's what Giannis is going to do. And I think that's why he's become the media darling. Because here's the thing about the media. The media report favorably on people who they need for good stories and clicks and all of that stuff, or people that they can relate to. There are a lot of NBA players that members of the media can't relate to, and they don't particularly care for their style. Because when I hear certain people talking about, oh, we love Giannis, he's so humble, he's so this, he's so that, he's the team first guy, I look at them and I go, well, you're not. You're applauding somebody for displaying characteristics that you don't display. Because some of these people, whose names I won't see, I've watched them throw organizations under the bus just to get their thoughts out. And maybe they left those organizations later on, and then they continue to pile on the organizations in which they left in order to let people know that, hey, it was them, it wasn't me. But then when LeBron does it, it's a problem. When Kawhi does it, it's a problem. When Kevin Durant does it, it's a problem. But it's okay for you, the media member, to call out an organization that you're supposed to be there for to see them win. You're part of a team. And when that team's not going in the direction that you want to go in, you get upset and you call them out. But when the player does the same thing and goes to a new team, just like you did, you have an issue with it. And that's scary. Because again, I look at it and I go, do you like Giannis because of the way he plays the game? Or do you like Giannis because you like for your players to play ball? You like for your athletes to only care about winning games and not necessarily care about taking care of themselves, not necessarily care about creating multiple avenues for multi-generational wealth, right? I mean, I'm not asking you to care about their livelihoods because at the end of the day, you're here to cover the sport. But what I'm asking you is do not be mad at them for making the same decisions that you would make if you were in that same situation. And don't praise those who act in a way that you would like for them to act, but you do not mirror those same personality traits. Bill Simmons. Now, I think that Giannis is a great player. I think that I don't give Giannis enough respect because guess what? I don't relate to the level of humility that Giannis has. Because I come to it from the other side. Yo, if I'm that guy, I'm that guy. And I want to be treated as such. And I want the team to win, but understand, hey, I need my perks too. Because, championship rings don't pay for college. Championship rings don't buy houses. But money does. So let's talk about Space Jam: A New Legacy. I've been seeing a lot of talk about Space Jam. I've seen people critiquing it. I've seen people loving it. I've seen everything from all over. So let me give my thoughts on it. I enjoyed the movie. It was longer than I would have liked, but I'm also not a movie person. But it's like, hey, Bron, how about you give us an hour and a half, an hour 45, not 2? But I also understand the movie wasn't for me because it was like a mix of NBA jams, Fortnite, some robot stuff. It just wasn't for me. But at the same time, it was for me because it carried a level of nostalgia that takes me back to, I got a basketball Jones. I got a basketball Jones on, baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Or it is in the rule book. You know? So I look back at the quotables, and my favorite quotable was that. Like, that was funny as hell. But that's LeBron. And here's the thing about the movies. I think that the movie took the persona of the athletes involved, right? I think that with Michael Jordan doing what he did with his original Space Jam, it was, hey, I know some of y'all nice, but even though I've walked away from the game, y'all ain't nice to me. And then he proved that with his second three-peat. He had Chuck in the movie. He had Ewing in the movie. He had Larry Johnson in the movie, Grandmama. He had, Muggsy. Muggsy's not on that level. And Sean Bradley, they're not on that level, But he had those current players, and it was like, oh, bruh, no matter how good we are, even if we team up, we can't beat Michael Jordan. That's who Michael Jordan is. That's who Michael Jordan was. So that movie made sense. Then LeBron, his Space Jam is a little bit different. And I think the new legacy part matters because LeBron's legacy is more than an athlete. Where a lot of MJ's legacy is just athlete-based. LeBron James' legacy is not just athlete-based. He's more than that. And he got into some of the nuances of fatherhood. And I'm not going to do like Skip Bayless and say LeBron was projecting himself onto the screen with how he's treating his kids. No, I'm not going to do that. But I think the family aspect of the movie, LeBron fighting against his son, then eventually fighting with his son to fight for his son, is very pertinent. Why? Because for one, LeBron is showing an active black father. An active black father. And I think that's important. We need to see more active black fathers. Our superstars need to show us what they're doing as black fathers because there are people who hang on the actions of professional athletes. They hang on the action of people who they are fans of. So if LeBron, you're showing yourself to be a great father, great husband, I love it. Taco Tuesday. Yes, all the corny dad jokes, we love it. So like, when I see that, I go, I'm here for this. I support this movie. I really do. But here's why. Because LeBron James was the overbearing parent, trying to get his younger son, his middle child, to be into basketball like he is and like the older son was. But LeBron, but the kid Dom was into video games. He liked basketball, but he liked to make video games and play video games. He'd rather play 2K than 2-on-2. That's fine. Now, can I be vulnerable with y'all real quick? Can I be vulnerable? Can I please be vulnerable? If I have your permission to be vulnerable, I'm gonna get vulnerable real quick. So movies like that touch me in a different way. Because I understand growing up in a situation where your parents, or even one of your parents, wants to map out a road for you. And you can start going down that road because you trust that your parents have your best interest at heart. And in their mind, they do have your best interest at heart, but some of that may be their own best interest. And when you're young, you don't know. And you don't even know that you don't know. You just go, this is what my mom wants me to do. This is what my dad wants me to do. So I'm going to do it because this is the path that they're leading me down. But then as you start going down that path, you start seeing these different detours along the path, and you go, everything in me is leading me this way, but my parent is telling me to go that way. And I feel like because they've been around longer than I have, they have more wisdom than I do, and they may even have more knowledge than I do, that I should go down the path that they're going because I'm going to defer to them. And then the further and further you go down that path, you just go, dang, bro, I just keep tripping up. I just keep running into stuff. I just keep getting lost. Is this really the path for me, or is this the path for them? And then you go, who's happy here? Parent, are you happy? Oh, I'm ecstatic. I'm so proud of you. You're doing all this stuff. And you go, Jesus Christ, when I look in the mirror every day, I'm sick. I'm hurt. I don't like who I see. I don't want to be this person, but I love my parent. I don't want to let them down. I love you, baby. So what do you do? And I think that movie created an important conversation in households. Like, I'm not going to get into which movie is better because the original Space Jam gives me a certain level of nostalgia because I watched that movie as a child. Or I watched this movie as an adult with, like, I mean, I was a Michael Jordan fan, but I was like 6 and he was 34 or whatever he was, you know? Whereas LeBron, we're 7 years apart. So although we're not peers, and although I've looked up to him for a great portion of my life, I see things on a different level because I see him raising his kids, right? And then I go, so here's the lesson for the people. Is as a parent, help your kids drive down the road, but don't drive them down the road, right? You know how they say if you give a man fish, he can eat for a day, but if you teach him how to fish, he can eat forever. I think that is so important for parents. Teach your kids how to fish. Give them the skills that they can to be successful, and then push them to be successful in the fields that they want to be successful in. But don't push them to do what it is that you want them to do, because guess what? They're going to resent you. They're going to resent some of the decisions that they've made. They're going to find themselves in a place like, who did I make this decision for? But more importantly, who am I making my decisions for? Am I making my decisions for myself, or am I making my decisions for you? Because you've guided me through so many decisions because you wanted me to do what you wanted me to do versus what I wanted to do. And the question is, why? Is it because you have regrets? Hey, if you're a parent and you have regrets from your life, let that hurt go, sis. Let that hurt go, bruh. You didn't do it. You can't do it. It's too late. You can try to put those values, you can try to put that same drive into your children. And if they accept it, all right, push them downstream. But if they don't have the same goals, they don't have the same aspiration as you do, you accept that, and then you push them to be as great in those aspirations that they are as you want it to be in the aspirations that you set out for them. But that's hard. That's hard because guess what, parents? Sometimes you might have to check yourself. You may have to go get a little bit of therapy. You may have to go say, hey, this is what's wrong with me, and I'm projecting this on my child. And help me get to a place to where I'm comfortable with myself and my successes and my failures so that I'm not projecting this on other people. Yeah. We falling, big baby. You heard Cameron. We falling, big baby. But I think it's important because you should allow your kids to be free, allow them to be who they want to be and do what they want to do. And at the end of the day, you should love them no matter what, because their failures and their successes don't define who you are as a parent. It doesn't define who you are as a person. It defines who they are as a child, as an individual, as a human being. Because at the end of the day, we're responsible for our actions. So that's my takeaway from Space Jam 2: A New Legacy. But let's talk about Devin Newport Booker. I call him Devin Newport Booker because he smoked Game 5. Now, I don't want this to look like I'm not a fan of Devin Booker because I'm a huge fan of Book. I like Book. I really do. He's one of my favorite stars, but he's not a superstar. And the first time I went about doing this pod, I started getting into why he's not a superstar. For one, he has 2 All-Star appearances, no All-NBA. If you're not top 15 in the league, you're not a superstar. Now, do I believe that the league gets All-NBA wrong sometimes? Absolutely. I mean, the media, they get All-NBA wrong sometimes, but think about how many guards you would take before you go after Devin Booker. I can think of a few. Luka Doncic, yeah, he's a guard. Donovan Mitchell, yeah, he's a guard. Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, 2 guards. Klay Thompson. Hey, you know what? I'll take Brad Beal. Who else? There's a few there, and I know I'm missing somebody because I'm just going off the top of my head. But I mean, Chris Paul is teammate. I mean, I know Book has had the great scoring games in the finals, but Chris Paul got the team over the hump. Call me crazy. And I'm sure there are some out there, not many, not wise ones, who may take Westbrook over Devin Booker. I wouldn't, but that's a story for another day. So I think he's really good. I think he's great, but he smoked the game, man. And if you look at his performances in game 4 and 5, he went for 40 pieces in both games. And that's superstar type stuff. But if you look in between the 40 plus points, you see the things that don't make him a superstar. If you look at game 4, he was in heavy foul trouble. Book, you are not a defensive stopper. You're not. You play decent defense. You're a walking bucket, but you're not a defensive stopper. So why are you getting all these fouls? Why are you in so much foul trouble? Well, it's because you're making dumb fouls, and 1 or 2 doesn't matter. But then when you get 3 or 4, 2 more actual fouls, and then you get another dumb one, you're sitting here in foul trouble. Guess what? You were cooking in the third quarter of game 4. Then we got to pull you early in the fourth quarter because you get your 5th foul. But not only do you get your 5th foul, when you come back into the game and your team still has a chance to win, what do? You should have picked up your 6th and your 7th foul on the same play. It's like, bruh, if you're trying to win the game, now's not the time for that. Now, today he had a quote saying, "Don't compare me to Kobe," because he had been compared to Kobe, and people were saying that he was the next Kobe, and I was like, absolutely not. Kobe was an all defensive player. Kobe could finish at the rim, finish in the mid-range, finish at the 3. Devin Booker's not finishing at the rim the way that Kobe was. We call Kobe MJ Light. Devin Booker's not MJ Light. Stop it. He's not. So if he's not MJ, if you can't compare Devin Booker to MJ, you can't compare him to Kobe. You can say that he took things from Kobe. Absolutely. Mid-range game, footwork, yeah, all of that. Absolutely. Tough shot making, yes. But the thing is, there's not a level of consistency in Devin Booker's play that's going to make him a superstar. I'm not even going to talk about his IQ. I'm going to talk about his decision making, because his decision making is not that of a superstar. Hey, Book, when you're a superstar, you don't get ripped by Drew Holiday in game 5 where you could go up on your home court. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not that you would have missed a shot. If you would have missed a shot, I would have been fine. But you didn't get to the shot. You lost the ball before you got the shot. That's not okay. That's not superstar stuff. It's good player stuff. It's star stuff. But the biggest thing about Devin Booker not being a superstar is because he's not getting killed for his misstep. We're praising Drew Holiday for his great defense, which tells me we don't expect that from Devin Booker. Because if we had an expectation of Devin Booker taking and making that shot, we would be murdering him right now. It would be murder. But we're not murdering him because, he's playing with house money. And superstars don't play with house money. Absolutely not, because superstars have an expectation to be great at all times. Superstars have an expectation to finish even when it doesn't make sense. Superstars have an expectation to win games when the team is better than them, but they're supposed to be the superstar. and they're supposed to deliver. That's not Devin Booker. That's not yet. He's a smoker. He's a Newport. He smoked the game. Tuka pack. Booker pack. Cause he killed the Suns in the final. Yeah, bro. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. Yeah, he's the Booker pack. Milwaukee was smoking the Booker pack. That's what it was. That's all it was. They're smoking the Booker pack. Devin Newport Booker. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, he's good, but he's not great. And when you get ripped like that and you don't give your team an opportunity to win a game, and then you don't get criticized for it, you don't get ridiculed for it, you're not a superstar. You're not there yet. But there's no shame in not being a superstar because there's not many superstars in the league. When we think about who are superstars, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sorry if I said your name wrong, Giannis. Zion has superstar status, but he's not a superstar yet because he didn't make the playoffs, so we didn't kill him. Luka's not a superstar yet. You know why? Because he's not getting killed for not getting out of the first round yet. Kawhi Leonard, he gets killed for getting hurt. Paul George, guess what? Paul George is a superstar because when Paul George doesn't show up, we kill him. The book, not a superstar. When Chris Paul got ripped by J. Rue, game 4, we killed him. Why? Because he's a superstar. Giannis, why did we kill him the way we killed him last year when he got beat by Miami? Superstar. It's not Book. But Book knows that. Book just knows he's really good. He knows he's a walking bucket. He has the respect of his peers, but he know he don't sit at the grown folks' table. He know good and well he can't go sit at the table with Bron and KD and them. Like, oh, shit, man. We'll call you up here in a second, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? If somebody leave, we might let you come over here and chill for a second, but bro, you know better, man. Can't come and sit with me, KD, and stuff, bro. You don't even know what we talking about. Stop it. But also, he's at a place in his career where he still has time. He still has time, and I don't want people to think that I don't believe that Devin Booker can be a superstar because I think his ceiling is superstar, right? His ceiling is superstar, but in order for him to get there, he has to become a more efficient scorer. Less tough shots and more efficient shots. More efficient from the 3. Less fouling. Get fouled more. There are some easy steps that he can take in order to achieve superstar status, and I think that will come with years. So don't take this as me smoking the Booker pack, right? Because I'm not. But I mean, Milwaukee is. All right, man. Here we go. I want to talk a little free agency. I want to talk a little bit of Dame and Kawhi. Before I even consider talking about that, I got to talk about your guy, Stephen A. Smith. Mr. Company Man. Mr. ESPN. Mr. When I wake up in the morning, I think about how I can make my bosses more money. So that means I'll say any and everything I can to get a number. Let me go with my notes. What does Stephen A. do? So Stephen A. Smith came under fire last week for some comments about Shohei Ohtani. Now, full disclosure, I believe that Stephen A. could have done a better job with his comments, but the sentiment of his comments did not bother me. I didn't think that they were racist. I did not think that they were xenophobic. I just think that he spoke. I feel like he could have spoke better. So let me see. Let's go to the quote. Stephen A. Smith. Here we go. So last Monday, a week ago from today, on First Take, he said, gearing up for the MLB Home Run Derby and All-Star game, he goes, but when you talk about an audience gravitating to the tube or to the ballpark to actually watch you, I don't think that helps when the number one face is a dude that needs an interpreter so you can understand what the hell he's saying in this country. And oh my God, the internet went crazy. I mean, you had employees of ESPN firing off. You had people on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook firing off. You probably had his executives in his ear saying, Stephen, hey, you got to clean this up. What the hell are you doing? You can't say this about an Asian guy. Didn't you know the climate that we're in? Brown, black, what you mean? We've been getting persecuted on the airways for years. But two wrongs don't make it right. And just because black people have been persecuted does not mean it's okay to persecute Asians at all. I don't think that to be true. But when you're talking about a player in an American sports league relating to the American culture and he does not speak our language, I think there's some validity in saying that, hey, this guy who does not speak our language probably cannot be the face of our third, maybe second most popular league in this country. Not because of his ability. It's just that he doesn't have the same relatability. You can't make jokes that I like. You don't have quotes that we can take and run with at the media. Maybe the fans, the kids, the adults, whoever is into the game is okay with the on the field production and they have no interest in getting to know the person. But history says we love to get to know our athletes beyond what we see on the field. I think that people became more fond of Tom Brady after he left New England and started to tweet more in Tampa Bay, right? I think that people have such strong opinions on LeBron because he shows us who he is to a certain degree. I think more people have feelings on KD because they can respond to his tweets, right? He might respond back to them. They can respond to stuff that he says in press conferences, right? I think one thing that's helped Giannis become more endeared to the American public is that he makes jokes. He understands sarcasm. Giannis does great post-game press conferences. He's really freaking good. And I think because he does that, we embrace him more. Joel Embiid, a.k.a. Troel Embiid, the fact that he has taken nuances of American culture and added it to his personality, I think that we like him more for that. I could be wrong. I could be biased. That could just be me. But I think the same thing would work for Ohtani. I think one of the reasons why in baseball, people are more drawn to a Vlad Guerrero Jr. or Fernando Tatis Jr., not only do we know their dads, but we watched them bat flip. We watched them make spectacular plays. We watched them shake them dreads. You know what I mean? We watched that and we go, I can relate to that. That's fire. You know what I mean? I rock with that. But with Ohtani, I think we see like, hey, bro, you can pitch and you can hit. For years, they told us you couldn't do the both of them. They were wrong. But to say that I relate to Shohei Ohtani or he's my favorite player because I know this, I feel like I know this guy, that would be false. Look at how many athletes have platforms in which they speak to their fans directly. I mean, Kevin Durant has a podcast. LeBron does straight to consumer products. You know what I mean? Richard Jefferson's on a podcast. Granted, I mean, Richard Jefferson's not a big name. You know what I mean? But like these guys make themselves available to talk to people so you can get to know their personalities and feel like you know them. JJ Redick has a podcast, you know? So I think where Stephen A was going with this, it's not wrong. It's like, I don't know this guy. So because I don't get to know this guy, I don't know if he can be the face of our league. But the way in which he said it set people off. Here's the thing, though. You can't expect people. You can't expect people in everyday land, like the layman, to respond to this to stuff in the media the same way that people in the media do. Because guess what? People in the media need to respond into a way that makes them look better so people want to listen to them, right? People in the media need to respond into probably the most like woke, socially like optimistic, open way possible. The most socially accepting, culturally accepting way possible, or you have to like double down on the other end of it and create enemies. So like when you see the people from ESPN firing back, and then like I saw one tweet saying like, in this environment, in this climate where all this Asian hate is going on, how dare you say something like that? All this violence against Asians, bruh. Nothing he said was violent. Nothing that he said would invoke violence by a rational human being. And if we have to monitor our words and actions by the responses of irrational people, our society is going to hell in a handbasket. You might as well just set us on fire and just burn, baby, burn. Gasoline, let that chick burn. Yes, exactly. That's what we would be if we're going to allow the irrational folks to drive the rational folks to the decision making. Now, this is not me defending what Stephen A. said. It's just me understanding it and me trying to see the nuance in it where it's like, bro, that was not racist. Race was a component of the conversation. Culture was a component of the conversation. But just because race and culture are a component of a conversation does not mean that the conversation itself is racist. If I look at a white guy and say, your skin is different from mine, I'm not racist. I am just pointing out the differences in our races. But here's where I have smoke for Stephen A. Because he come out here tap dancing with the smoothest of shoes on, boy. Them things was polished. Blacker than that Gucci man photo over my shoulder. You know what I mean? He get out there to tap dancing. Let's read the apology. Let me apologize right now. As I'm watching things unfold, let me say that I never intended to offend any community. Stephen A., as much noise as you've talked about people, Slava Mevadinko, Kwame Brown, you intended to offend those basketball players when you talked about them. So don't say you've never intended to offend any community, because you have. Because Kwame Brown and Slava Mevadinko and Rashad Nastarovich, they have communities that support them. And when you talked about them and you personalized it, you offended their community. So be who you are. Double down on it. Say, hey, I talk this noise, and sometimes I talk this noise and I mess up, but this is who I am. My heart is pure. My intentions are pure. But hey, when you talk a lot, you're going to mess things up. And especially Shohei Ohtani himself. As an African-American keenly aware of the damage stereotyping has done to many in this country, it should have elevated my sensitivities and even more. You saying that the American population might not embrace somebody who does not speak English, I don't think that's stereotyping. I think that's making I won't say astute, but I think that's making a pretty well-sourced observation that, like, how many faces of leagues in American sports have not had a mastery of English language and American mannerisms. I can't think of any, but I'm sure there's some, but there haven't been many. Based on my words, I failed in that regard, and it's on me and me alone. Ohtani is one of the brightest stars in all of sports. He is making a difference as it pertains to inclusiveness and leadership. I should have embraced that in my comments. Instead, I screwed up. And in this day and age, with all the violence being perpetuated against the Asian community, my comments, albeit unintentional, were clearly insensitive and regrettable. There's simply no other way to put it. I am sincerely sorry for any angst that I've caused with my comments on First Take this morning. Again, I am sorry, and I'll also happily reiterate these words more extensively tomorrow morning as well. I still don't understand where the violence piece is coming from. I don't get it. And I don't get why we have to bring in every issue with a particular community when we're talking about one thing. I can talk about something in the Black community, but then not include distrust for Black people and law enforcement, right? Can I criticize a black athlete? Can I say that a black athlete, say maybe with nappy hair, natural type hair, gold teeth, and using colloquial accent, may not be the face of an American sports league because many American citizens will not relate to that personality and they may fear it? Am I a bigot for saying that? Is that me fanning the flames of violence against black people by saying that? Or is it me saying that, hey, here's what Americans like, here's what Americans are drawn to, and you're not displaying the characteristics in which the majority of Americans are drawn to. So therefore, you may not be embraced as a figurehead in this organization because your success is dictated by characteristics in which Americans are drawn to, and you don't have those characteristics. Now, what if I said that? But I'm black and I said about somebody black, so it's okay. And that's what scares me. The fact that if you are not of the same group of somebody, that you can no longer criticize those people because now you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a feminist, you're a sexist, you're a ist, or you're a it. And it's like, no, I'm providing commentary. But here's where Stephen A is messed up, right? In the same week that Stephen A apologizes to the Asian community for fanning flames of Asian hate because he made what I presume to be a valid criticism of Shohei Ohtani, he makes fun of the Nigerian national basketball team. Mr. Stephen A, come on now. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing, Stephen A? Like, why is it okay for you to come out and speak against the Nigerian basketball team? Like, if you were given basketball commentary on them beating the United States, okay, I got it. Yeah, Nigeria should not beat the United States, but they did. But when you're mispronouncing names and you're making jokes of people's names because you didn't do the proper research, you didn't talk to an interpreter, you didn't use the opportunities, the resources available to ESPN in order to say their names properly, but then you got to apologize for offending an agent. I start saying, like, hold on, what's on your mind, bro? You said as a black man, you should have understood your rhetoric was not okay, but then as a black man, you want to talk about other black men. But that's okay. I ain't seen an apology yet. Or, when you wake up every morning, you think about how you can make your bosses more money. You apologize because you were messing up your boss's money because the black dollar doesn't matter as much to ESPN. Right? Is that what we're doing here? Because the black man, if you think it's okay to denigrate black people, mispronounce their names on purpose, I look at you differently as a black man who I don't look up to. I mean, I don't look up to you anyways, but as a black man who runs counter to American culture. You're not standing up for black people. I go back to when you said you wake up in the morning and you think about what you can do to make your bosses more money. I defended you when you said that. But then when you display actions like this, you company man, tap dancing, boot licking, oh boys, ESPN will never hire me. When you do stuff like this, I go, hold on. Do you even believe the things that you say? Or are you just a talking head talking for ESPN, and whatever ESPN puts in your back, you will energize a bunny. You keep going and going and going and going, but you're not going anywhere because the things you say you don't believe. You just craft arguments for a company to get them money so they get you money. And if you are on the paper chase and that's all you want to do, have at it. Have at it. I ain't mad at you. Boom, 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 boom. If that's what you're gonna do, Stephen A. Smith, I'm not mad at you. But what I don't want you to do is, I don't want you to come out here and cape for black people.
Change? Shit.
Because you ain't here for us.
I guess change is good for any of us.
You're here for yourself. You're here for your pockets. You're here for ESPN.
I ain't mad at you. Got nothing but love for you. Do you think, boy? Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm not mad at you, Stephen A.
Homies that I ain't talked to in a while.
I'm not. Because you're going to do what you're going to do.
Know what I mean? Because I ain't mad at you. Heard y'all tearing up.
I just feel like I should keep going. Should I keep going? We have 55 minutes, man. Like it's so much stuff that I could let's go. Let's go. You can't max Kawhi if he ain't your cornerstone. Now y'all know I've been on the let's properly place Kawhi where he belongs bandwagon for many years. I think Kawhi Leonard is one of the best basketball players in the NBA right now, but I would not build my team around him. I would not max Kawhi Leonard out. Why? Kawhi don't talk. And let me tell you, if I'm going to build my team around you, I need you to talk. I need to be able to talk to you about moves that we want to make. I need to understand what you're trying to do year to year, long term. I need to understand that, right? If you get hurt, I need to know what your injury is. I need to know your rehab. I mean, last summer, when all these stories came out, he made it obvious that he's not the best leader on the team, showing up super late, living in San Diego, and thinking that commute is going to work to LA. Like, yeah, right. I mean, Kobe did the commute from Orange County with the chopper, and he made that work. But even with the chopper from San Diego to LA, bro, that's a lot. That's a lot, Kawhi. But you come back this year, you play games, you tear your ACL, you're gone for another year. The team doesn't really know. They kind of find out when everything comes out with the media. 2 years in Los Angeles, and both seasons have been, I would say, disappointments. Right? Both seasons have been disappointments. One season, you and Paul George were there. We can blame the bubble. We can blame the lack of point guard. We can blame a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I'm going to blame you all because you said this was Kawhi Town. This was your city, and you were going to do what you do. Now, you won your second ring with the Raptors, but as I've said on this platform multiple times, you went there as a mercenary. There was an established culture in place that was not built around you that you were put into that allowed you to win. Same thing with San Antonio. You showed up in 2013? If my memory serves me correct, what year was Kawhi drafted? Was he in that Giannis draft? Kawhi Leonard. Let's go. Kawhi Leonard. I don't care about Kawhi Leonard's injury. I care about when Kawhi Leonard was drafted. Yes, Kawhi Leonard was drafted, in the 2011 draft. Yeah, that's right. Drafted in the 2011 draft to San Antonio. He had plenty of time to build himself up because Tim Duncan was still very effective. Tony Parker was in the back end of his prime. Manu Ginobili was in the back end of his prime. So you show up around these greats, these legends, and you get all the time you need to become the player that they want, okay? And then you bud into a superstar, and then you win another championship. Now, during that regular season, your stats weren't great. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. I don't have to tell anybody that because Basketball Reference exists, and if you haven't looked at that, then that's a you problem, not a me problem. But I'll tell you, I can't max out Kawhi. I can't build Kawhi, my team around Kawhi. He can't be my cornerstone, but here's what I can do. Here's where I can max out Kawhi. If I'm the Clippers, well, see, here's the thing. If I'm the Clippers, I may keep him because we're the Clippers and we're desperate for market share. No one cares about us. We're about to open up a new stadium, arena, and we're the Clippers. We make the playoffs. The fans are happy. Second round, ecstatic. Western Conference Finals, we won the finals as far as our fans are concerned because they know we're the freaking Clippers. But if I'm an organization trying to win a championship, there's only two places where Kawhi makes sense for me. It's Miami and Dallas. You go down to Miami, heat culture. Hey, Kawhi, you playing, bro? All this Uncle Dennis stuff, yeah, we love and support Uncle Dennis, but nah, bro. This ain't how we doing business around here. The fact that Skip Bayless broke the Kawhi ACL news before anybody, Skip Bayless, that's a problem. That's a that's a problem. You know what I mean? But that speaks to the way that Kawhi's can't move. It's very different. It's not what we're used to. And again, they're free to move that way, but I'm also free to move away from you. But I think heat culture could absorb a lot of the Kawhi-isms, and lead him to another championship. I also think that Dallas would be a great place for him because he, although he may be the best player on the team, he could still be a complementary player to Luka, playing off the ball and not necessarily being the media darling because he doesn't have to do the press conferences. He doesn't have to field all the questions, and he can go play hard-nosed defense like he used to and still go get his 25 points per game, but not have to worry about being the guy every night, especially as he's getting older and becoming more brittle. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, if I'm the Clippers and I'm really trying to win a championship, I'm gonna re-sign Kawhi, but I'm gonna re-sign Kawhi and try to make a move. Hey, Portland, Dame, like Cowherd talked about PG for Dame. I'm like, nah. If Dame and PG can get past Dame wet and PG up, I'll move you Kawhi. You give me Dame and a piece of Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, a broken, injured Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, I still need something with that because this is Kawhi. Two-time Finals MVP. What you think about that? I think we got some, but let's talk about Dame a little bit. Dame wants out, but Dame is not going to say that he wants out. Dame's going to handle it the right way. What Dame is going to do, he's going to hold the organization accountable. And I think the organization deserves to be held accountable for their inaction, their lack of action, or their poor actions. Now, they're in a bad place because, who the hell are they going to bring in? Like, who wants to come to Portland? What moves can they make? I don't know. I know G. Cooley, he got moves to make. Cooley making moves, but I don't know what. I know Portland has moves to make. I just don't know what moves they make. And all I'm going to say about this is I hope that Dame finds what he wants. Now, personally, I would love to see Dame say, send me to LA and nowhere else, and I watch him go play for the Lakers with LeBron. I would love it. Absolutely love it. And keep AD. I highly doubt that it's possible, but if Dame fires his agent and goes signs with Clutch, hey, anything is possible. But I'm interested to see what happens with Dame. I think the best NBA move would be Dame for Ben Simmons and Seth Curry. I don't think that Philly would want to give up Seth Curry, but I would say Dame, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and Matisse Thybulle. That's the move that gets me there. So then Portland, I think that elevates Portland because now you have Ben Simmons, and can you convince him to play off the ball a little bit, run pick and roll with CJ, but then also allow Ben Simmons to play on the ball because CJ can catch and shoot. You throw CJ in the corner, you got Thybulle out there playing solid defense. And then you still got Seth Curry as another shooter on the court. Yeah, you got two small guards, but you have Ben Simmons. Maybe Seth Curry becomes a bench player now, right? He comes off the bench instead of being a starter. Because I'm telling you, I watched Philly live. Seth Curry was their most reliable perimeter scorer in the playoffs. And if you put Dame Lillard and Joel Embiid together, and then obviously Daryl's going to try to keep Matisse. He's going to try to just throw in Ben and maybe like a bullshit draft pick, but you never know. And I think that's the best move for the NBA. It adds more to the East because a lot of people are going a little bit too crazy on Milwaukee and Giannis and thinking this is going to be a dynasty. And let me go back to Giannis and the Bucks, right? Let's go back to Giannis and the Bucks. Giannis and the Bucks have a prime opportunity to win a championship. But for the people who are going to try to crown them at the dynasty, they're wrong. Understand that if Kevin Durant's foot is 6 inches further back, they get put out in the second round, and Bud probably gets fired, and they're going in a totally different direction, right? Because everybody overreacts to things in the playoffs. So now we're saying Giannis and the Bucks are on the verge of a dynasty, and I go, ho. Hold on, what I say? Y'all need 3. Hold up, big baby. Like, how are you gonna turn a team that you was ready to strip down to the studs into a Dern? Well, dang, I lost my train of thought. You're gonna take a team you ready to tear down to the studs into a dynasty? Are you serious? No. Let's accept who they are this year. Let's accept what it is that they've done and what they may do. Because I mean, they haven't even won a championship yet, and we're crowning them a dynasty. I mean, Perk crowned Chris Paul and them a dynasty last week, and he was like, "Carry on." Like, nah, bro, you need to carry on, carry off, because that take was terrible, Perk. I've been trying to cape for you, Perk, and then you go do some Perk stuff. You be percolating. It's time for the percolator. It's time for the percolator. You know what I mean? The big percolator. But on a serious note, is that let's allow life to happen. Let's see what happens in the offseason. What moves do the Lakers make? What moves do the Nets make? The superstar, Jamal Murray, come back and superstar to a championship. What do the Mavericks do? What do the Heat do? Do the Celtics make a move? Because, like, I mean, it don't look like much is going to happen for them. So let's not crown Giannis and the Bucks as a dynasty when they hadn't even won a ring yet. They may win a ring, and they may become a dynasty. But let's wait and see before we make any crazy predictions.